Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be taking a first look here at the Week 2 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like we always do in these videos here, I'm going to go position by position talking about the plays that are sticking out to me here early in the week, and then we'll wrap up the video by putting together a first look cash lineup and a first look tournament lineup. With that being said, let's dive right into the quarterbacks, and I got four that are sticking out to me initially. Two right at the top here with Lamar and Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to be heavy on the Ravens in general more than likely this week. Good spot at home here against the Raiders, looking to bounce back after their loss in week 1 against the Chiefs. We know the upside that Lamar offers. Both the rushing and passing side give him such a safe floor. He's going to be both a cash game and tournament consideration this week. Mahomes is going to be purely a tournament consideration for me more than likely. Obviously, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, but just can't be trusted in cash games all the time. I do, however, think he's going to offer major GPP appeal this season with the weapons that he has. Obviously, we got Kelsey there, but we got Rashee Rice taking another step. Worthy looked good in game 1, and Hollywood Brown should be back here sooner than later. I think there's even a chance that he plays this week. Now, if I'm not able to spend up for Lamar in my cash lineup, the next obvious pick that stuck out to me here was Jaden Daniels. He looked really good in week 1 against the Buccaneers. Obviously didn't get the win, but was pretty damn efficient when it came to fantasy scoring. You can see here he had 16 rushing attempts, 88 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. If he continues to keep that up, it's going to be really hard to ignore him in cash lineups and in tournament lineups. Plus, I do like the matchup there against the Giants at home. We saw what Sam Darnold did to that Giants defense just in week 1. Now, I also like kind of a game split here. I was going to highlight Baker Mayfield, but honestly, Jared Goff is definitely in play as well. They're playing in Detroit here, indoors. I think there's a lot of shootout potential. We'll build a tournament lineup around that game at the end of this video. Now, moving on to the running backs here, obviously the first big piece of news we'll have to keep an eye on this week is whether or not Christian McCaffrey plays. Adam Schefter came out last night during the Monday night game and basically said that there's a risk he doesn't play here in week 2 against Minnesota. So we'll talk about Mason here in just a minute, but there's a few guys that I want to highlight before we get to the 5K range. Obviously, we got some nice names at the top here, but the first guy that really stuck out to me was Kyren Williams. Now, obviously, a lot of concern coming into this season here. Oh, he's going to be returning punts. We got Blake Corum there. Are they going to be splitting carries? That was not the case here in week 1. 18 rushing attempts, 3 targets, 21 total opportunities. I want that in my cash lineup and in a good spot there against the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to be cash game and tournament viable, especially with Puka Nacua likely missing time for the Rams. Now, I already mentioned how much I love the Ravens here this week. Good bounce back spot at home for them against the Raiders. That will include Derrick Henry in my pool as well. Would love to see the volume go up for him, just 15 total opportunities in week 1, but a really tough matchup against that Chiefs defense too, so I will take that performance with a grain of salt. I think we're going to see some games this year where he goes for 100 plus rushing yards and multiple touchdowns. Could be this week against the Raiders. Now, scrolling down just a little bit from him, I also like Josh Jacobs here for the Packers. Obviously a really interesting situation for the Packers as a whole right now. We're likely going to see Malik Willis start at quarterback for them in week 2, but that means that they should lean on Jacobs even more. He saw 19 total opportunities in week 1, and I think we see that number go up in week 2, especially in this matchup here against Indianapolis, who saw Joe Mixon just shred those guys in week 1. And then the last running back that I want to highlight here is Jordan Mason of the San Francisco 49ers, giving us a beautiful price there of $5,200. Obviously, again, we need to keep an eye on the Christian McCaffrey news, but assuming that he does not play here in week 2 against Minnesota, Jordan Mason is basically a free square in our cash lineup, someone who saw 29 total opportunities in week 1 against the Jets and played very damn well. 25 DraftKings points. I'll take that every day at that price. Now, folks, before we dive into the wide receiver plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. And also want to reiterate here to join my Discord channel. It is completely free to do that. We got 600 plus people in there talking DFS, sports betting, DraftKings, FanDuel, multiple different sports. It's a really good place to just talk fantasy sports in general. So I'll provide a link to join that in the description below of this video, as well as in a pinned comment below. below. If you can't find either one of those, just leave me a comment and I'll send you an invite there. Alright, now diving into these wide receivers here, we got some elite options at the top with CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Jamar Chase, but the guy that I want to focus in on here is Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. This guy saw 21 targets in week 1 against the Detroit Lions, a number that is unsustainable, but we should see him get double-digit targets week in and week out, and I talked about it with Kyren Williams already. I like the matchup in general this week for the Rams against that Arizona Cardinals defense. Now scrolling down a little bit here, two guys that I want to focus on solely on the tournament side of things are Garrett Wilson and Rashee Rice. Garrett Wilson here, 11 targets in week 1 against the 49ers, 12 DraftKings points. I think a lot of people are going to look at that and go, yep, he's not meeting expectations. We knew this would happen again. Well, sign me up against this Tennessee defense. Yeah, they got Snead at the quarterback position this year, brought him over from the Chiefs, and he is a shutdown cornerback, but I think it's only going to be a matter of time that we see Garrett Wilson go for one of those 25, 30 plus DraftKings point performances that we need in our tournament lineups to win big money. Again, especially if the targets are going to be double digits week in and week out. Now, I also want to talk about Rashee Rice here with the Kansas City Chiefs. Looked awesome in week 1 in that matchup against the Ravens. I thought he was going to be shut down a little bit with that Baltimore defense. That was not the case. They had him running in the slot, some easy targets going his way. Run after the catch was there. He's going to be a great tournament option all year long. Same with Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce, again, talked about those guys. But scrolling down here again in the 6K range, you can see Worthy right there. I want to highlight Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saw 8 targets in week 1, 8 receptions, and honestly just looked better running routes on the field, and I think that was to be expected by most people. Obviously, he's been riddled with some injuries throughout his career, had that ACL injury a couple of years ago as well where he needed surgery, so I think this year, fully healthy coming into the season, people thought he was going to get back to the old Chris Godwin, and he looked like that in week 1 in that matchup against Washington. The next guy that I want to highlight here then is Jameson Williams. Now, this has notoriously been more of a tournament player throughout his career, and he's been that boom-bust type of guy that we look for in tournaments, but this guy had 9 targets in week 1 and really just looked good anytime he had the ball in his hands. So $5,300, I tend to say he is still more of a tournament player, but if the volume is going to be there where he gets 8+ targets a game at $5,300, I'll consider him in cash as well. And then one more guy that I want to highlight here in the 4K range is Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, notoriously, this is more of a cash game player because he doesn't offer that deep threat upside that we look for in tournaments. However, 12 targets in week 1, kind of a gadget player. He can find the end zone. I think he's going to be cash game and tournament viable in week 2. And then we got the tight ends here. We're going to keep this section quick like we always do, but I want to highlight these 3 guys right at the top here with Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, and Trey McBride. I think considering their prices and matchups this week, they are all going to be tournament viable, and if I had to pick one of those guys to be in my cash lineup, it's going to be Trey McBride. 9 targets in week 1 against the Bills, basically picking up where he left off with Kyler Murray last season. So he's going to be the cash game viable guy that I like at the top, but I want to scroll down here in the low 5K range, upper 4K range, because we got Andrews and Likely there for the Baltimore Ravens, and I talked about how much I like the Ravens in general here in week 2. Now, Likely was a guy that they highlighted in week 1. 12 targets, 9 receptions, 29 DraftKings points. I think people are just naturally going to gravitate towards him, which is kind of why I like Andrews here in tournaments. He only had 2 targets. Yes, he got in that car accident in August, and maybe that is hindering him, but that's why we like him in tournaments, because a lot of people are going to look at that and go, I want nothing to do with it. Would you really be shocked if he came out this week with 8 receptions, 80 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns? I don't think I would be. And then if I'm really looking to save some money here, there was one guy that stuck out to me in the 3K range, going back to the LA Rams here. That's going to be Parkinson. And again, we're looking at Puka Nacua this week. If he does miss, that should highlight Parkinson just a little bit more. And he looked pretty good in that game against Detroit. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 47 receiving yards, 8 DraftKings points. I'll absolutely take that at that price of $3,100. And then we got the defenses here. We'll keep this short and sweet. Two defenses sticking out to me on the tournament side of things here if we want to spend up this week. First being the Ravens. Talked about how much I love that matchup against the Raiders multiple times already. I like the Steelers on the road here against Bo Nix and a rookie quarterback who did not look very good against Seattle in his debut. And then if I'm looking to save some money here at the defense position, I like going on the other side of that game here with the Broncos playing Justin Fields. Or if I'm really looking to save some money, the Minnesota Vikings playing the 49ers. Obviously, I don't love that matchup, but that Vikings defense looked really good against Daniel Jones. Now that I say that out loud, it's a punt play at $2,400. So again, if we're really looking to save some money, it's Minnesota for me. All right, now that we've gone position by position here, let's put together a first look cash lineup and a first look tournament lineup. We'll start on the cash side of things here. I'd love to be able to get up to Lamar Jackson, but I just think the discount that we're getting with Jaden Daniels in a really good matchup at home against the Giants is hard to ignore. So let's start there. And then I think the free square that we got to take right now, assuming that McCaffrey does not play this week, is going to be with Jordan Mason. Now, the other guy that I want to go to here initially is going to be Jacobs. Again, I think he could see 25 plus opportunities in this game with Malik Willis starting at the quarterback position. Now, over here at the wide receiver position, I'm going to staple in Cooper Kupp right away. And then I'm going to scroll down here to Jameson Williams. Now, I mentioned that he is still kind of on the teetering edge of being a tournament/cash game player. For sure, a tournament player. But if he's going to be getting 8+ targets per game, I like him in this spot here at home against Tampa. I think there's some shootout potential in that game in general. Now, I want to save a little bit of money here, so I'm going to go to Wan'Dale Robinson in the 4K range. Again, someone who got 12 targets in week 1. We love searching for that volume in our cash lineup. And then I just want to save some money here at the tight end position. I'm always okay with doing that. We'll go with Parkinson there, who I highlighted earlier. And let's put in a defense. I'm going to go with the Broncos here against Justin Fields. That gives us $9,000 left over in the flex position, which essentially means we could play anyone here. Let's just put in CeeDee Lamb. All right, now let's put together a first look tournament lineup here. And at the beginning of this video, when we were going through the quarterbacks, I said I'd build something around this game between the Buccaneers and Lions. Let's actually go with the Jared Goff side of things here and stack him up with a couple of his pass catchers. We know we can get Jameson Williams here really cheap at $5,300. And let's go with Sam Laporta as well, a little top tier tight end play. And let's run it back with Chris Godwin on the Buccaneers side of things. Now, I'd be okay there with Mike Evans as well. We could go with Rachaad White, but I'm going to put in Godwin being that I highlighted him already. Now, another stack that I want to do here is Derrick Henry stacked up with his defense in the Ravens. So that gives us a little running back defense stack there as well, a little correlation in two different ways. Now let's go back to the running back side of things here, and I know that we can get Jordan Mason really cheap here. Yeah, he's likely going to be super popular, but I really don't care because I'll get unique elsewhere. Now looking back here at the wide receiver side of things, we only got one left, so let's actually go to the flex spot because I want to make it a little more unique by putting in a second tight end, and we're going to do that here with Trey McBride. So now I got two tight ends. That makes my lineup unique on top of doing a little game stack there between the Bucs and Lions. I got $4,400 left over for the wide receiver position, which is perfect to put in Wan'Dale Robinson. That's a first look tournament lineup. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great week here, folks, and in the meantime, I'm out of here.